For more than a decade, we thought we knew the story of the Brown family. We thought we understood the fault lines, the betrayals, and the secrets that tore a plural family apart at the seams. We witnessed the slow, agonizing demise of 3 spiritual marriages, leaving patriarch Kody Brown isolated on his self-made throne of bitterness next to his one remaining wife, Robyn. We analyzed the catfishing scandal that shattered Meri Brown's spirit. We dissected the favoritism that drove Christine away, and we watched the pragmatic departure of Janelle, who chose her children over her husband. We thought we had seen all the skeletons fall out of the Kody past closet. We were wrong. We were so profoundly wrong. What if I told you that the biggest secret, the original sin of the Brown family, was never captured by TLC cameras? A secret so dark and so deep that its revelation would not just rewrite their history, but would detonate a legal and emotional bomb so powerful it could utterly destroy what little is left of Kody and Robyn's carefully constructed empire. A secret has been walking and breathing outside the confines of their reality show, a living, breathing person whose very existence threatens to expose the foundational lie upon which the entire family narrative was built. Today, we are unpacking the single most explosive story in the history of sister wives, a story that has moved from the whispers of online forums to the cold, hard reality of a court of law. This is the story of a man claiming to be Meri Brown's secret, long-lost son. This is the story of a dramatic courtroom showdown that forced Kody and Robyn Brown to face their accuser under oath. And this is the story of a court-ordered DNA test that didn't just reveal the truth. It revealed what everyone believed to be a biological impossibility, exposing a level of cruelty and manipulation from Kody and Robyn that will shock even their most hardened critics. Prepare yourselves, because the truth that was just exposed under the harsh lights of a courtroom is about to change everything you thought you knew about Meri, Kody, Robyn, and the entire Brown family saga. The story begins not with a bang, but with a series of cryptic but persistent posts that started appearing on niche social media platforms several months ago. A man, who we will refer to as Jacob, began to tell a story that seemed, at first, too wild to be true. He claimed, with startling conviction, that he was the biological son of Meri Caroline Brown, the first wife, Meri. He wasn't the product of the infamous catfishing affair, nor was he some distant relative. His claim was far more profound. He alleged that he was born decades ago, long before the family stepped into the national spotlight, and was given up in a secret adoption, an adoption so secret that it was buried under layers of family shame and religious pressure. Jacob painted a tragic picture of a young Meri, coerced into giving him away by a patriarchal system, and a young, ambitious Kody Brown who believed another baby, at that specific time, would destabilize his grand plans for a growing plural family. For months, these claims were dismissed by the Sister Wives fan community as the sad ramblings of a clout chaser, another Sam Cooper, trying to latch onto the Brown family fame. But Jacob was different. He didn't ask for money. He didn't try to sell a story to the tabloids. His message was consistent and heartbreakingly simple. He just wanted to be acknowledged by his mother. The situation escalated when Kody and Robyn Brown, in their typical fashion, decided to confront the rumor head-on in a way that would ultimately become their undoing. During a paid online interview, they were asked about the secret son rumors. Instead of a simple denial, Kody launched into a tirade of rage and ridicule. He publicly branded Jacob a deranged stalker and a fraudulent bottom feeder, accusing him of trying to extort the family. Robyn, in a tear-filled performance that has become her signature, spoke about the fear she felt for her family's safety and painted Jacob as a dangerous and unstable individual, likely a pawn in a larger game being played by Meri's catfish tormentors. They didn't just deny his claim. They publicly assassinated his character, using their massive platform to label him as a criminal and a liar. This was their fatal mistake. Because Jacob, who had been quietly trying to seek a private connection, was now a man who had been publicly slandered and defamed. He responded not with more social media posts, but with a multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuit filed against Kody Brown and Robyn Brown, forcing them into a legal battle they were arrogantly confident they would win. The stage was now set for a courtroom drama that would make the on-screen fights of sister wives look like a pleasant family picnic. The court proceedings began as a tense, behind-closed-doors affair, but details quickly began to leak from sources inside the courtroom. Jacob's legal team presented a compelling case, arguing that Kody and Robyn had knowingly and maliciously lied about their client with the intent to cause irreparable harm to his reputation and emotional well-being. The centerpiece of their case was Jacob's own testimony. Taking the stand, he was no longer a shadowy online figure, but a composed and articulate man who spoke with a quiet and painful sincerity. He detailed an entire hidden history, presenting alleged correspondence between his adoptive parents and a third party, which he claimed was a proxy for Meri. He spoke of cryptic and signed birthday cards he received every year and a deep, unexplainable sense of loss that had haunted him his entire life, a feeling that finally led him on a genealogical quest that pointed directly to Meri Brown. He looked directly at Meri, who was sitting in the courtroom, and spoke of the deep maternal connection he felt, a connection that transcended the years and the secrecy. His testimony was so powerful, so filled with raw emotion, that the courtroom was reportedly silent, captivated by a story of a life lived in the shadow of the Brown family's public spectacle. When Kody Brown took the stand, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. He was arrogant, dismissive, and combative. He referred to Jacob's entire story as a fantasy novel and a disgusting lie. He reiterated his belief that Jacob was a con artist and mocked the idea that Meri could have ever kept such a secret from him. Under cross-examination, he was repeatedly asked a very simple question: "Are you aware of Meri Brown ever giving a child up for adoption?" His answer, under oath, was a thunderous, "Absolutely not. It never happened. It's an impossibility." Then it was Robyn's turn. She presented herself as the ultimate victim, her voice trembling as she described the terror of being targeted by Jacob. She spoke of her love and concern for Meri, painting a picture of Meri as a fragile woman who was being manipulated once again. She testified that in all their years of heart-to-heart conversations, Meri had never, ever mentioned a lost son. When asked the same question as Kody, "Are you aware of Meri Brown ever giving a child up for adoption?" she looked at the jury with tears in her eyes and whispered, "No, of course not. She would have told me. We tell each other everything." Their testimonies were a united front of absolute denial. They were confident, smug even, that their version of reality was the only one that mattered. It was a performance for the court, for the media, and for their television audience. But it was a performance built on a foundation of lies, and the judge was about to call their bluff in the most definitive way possible. Seeing the clear impasse, the judge made a ruling that sent a shockwave through the courtroom. He was ordering an independent, court-mandated DNA test between Jacob and Meri Brown. The results would be unsealed live in court, and the truth, whatever it might be, would finally be brought into the light. The day the DNA results were to be revealed, the courtroom was a tinderbox of tension. Kody and Robyn sat at their defense table, whispering to their lawyers, a veneer of confidence barely concealing their anxiety. Meri sat separately, looking pale and stoic, a woman seemingly bracing for an impact that could either liberate her or destroy her completely. Jacob sat with his legal team, his gaze fixed on Meri. The judge entered. The clerk handed him a sealed envelope, and the room fell into a deafening silence. The judge opened the document, scanned it for a moment, and then looked over his glasses at the courtroom. He cleared his throat and announced the first result. "On the matter of maternity," he began, "the laboratory results indicate a 99.999% probability that Meri Caroline Brown is the biological mother of Jacob." The words hung in the air like a physical force. A collective gasp swept through the gallery. Kody's face contorted into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. He slammed his fist on the table, a muffled curse escaping his lips. Robyn's jaw dropped, her eyes wide with utter shock and disbelief, the tears she had so expertly manufactured now replaced by a look of cold, hard panic. Meri Brown finally broke. A sob escaped her, a sound of profound pain and perhaps profound relief as she covered her face with her hands. Jacob simply closed his eyes, the vindication he had sought for so long washing over him. He was not a liar. He was not a stalker. He was Meri Brown's son. But that was only the first bombshell. The part that revealed the truly impossible, the part that exposed the depths of Kody and Robyn's evil, came next. Jacob's legal team immediately filed a motion to present new evidence, arguing that Kody and Robyn's sworn testimony was now proven to be a deliberate act of perjury. They claimed to have a witness who could testify that not only was Jacob Meri's son, but that Kody and Robyn knew about his existence the entire time. The real story, the lawyers alleged, was infinitely darker than a simple secret adoption. The impossibility revealed by the DNA test wasn't just that Meri had another child, but that it defied the public narrative that Kody and Robyn had helped create and enforce for years, the narrative of Meri's secondary infertility. The truth, as laid out by this new line of argument, was that after Leon was born, Meri discovered she was not infertile, but had a condition that would make future pregnancies high risk. Years later, she did become pregnant again, a miracle that she and Kody initially celebrated. However, at this time, Kody was already courting Robyn. The new theory posited that Kody, and perhaps Robyn as a confidant, feared that a new baby for Meri would complicate Robyn's entry into the family. A new brown baby would shift the family's focus and resources back to the first wife, potentially delaying the spiritual and legal marriage to Robyn that Kody so desperately wanted. They convinced a vulnerable Meri that the only way to protect the family and ensure the well-being of the unborn child was to give him up in a quiet, closed adoption. They manipulated her into believing it was the only righteous, selfless choice. They created the infertility story as a cover, a cruel narrative that allowed Meri to be pitted while they controlled her life, using her grief and desperation as a leash for over a decade. Her pining for another baby, her offer to be a surrogate for Robyn. All of it was recontextualized as the desperate actions of a woman grieving a son she was forced to abandon by the very people pretending to be her family. This accusation transformed the entire case. It was no longer a defamation suit. It was an exposure of a monstrous, long-term conspiracy. Kody and Robyn hadn't just lied about Jacob. They had lied about Meri's entire life story. They had actively participated in forcing her to give up her child and then constructed a false narrative to cover their tracks, a narrative they maintained on a national television show for over a decade. Their sworn testimony, denying any knowledge of this child, was not a simple lie. It was a desperate attempt to protect themselves from the exposure of their deepest, darkest secret. The DNA test didn't just give Meri a son. It gave her a voice and a witness to the profound psychological abuse she had endured. It proved that Kody's cruelty was not a recent development, but a foundational element of his character. It proved that Robyn's victimhood was a carefully crafted persona, hiding a woman who was complicit in one of the most heartless acts imaginable. The legal implications are staggering. Kody and Robyn are now facing not only a lost defamation suit of epic proportions, but also potential perjury charges, which carry the risk of prison time. Their credibility, both legally and in the court of public opinion, has been permanently annihilated. The fallout from this courtroom apocalypse will be immense and far-reaching. For Meri Brown, this is a moment of terrible, painful vindication. She has been reunited with the son she was forced to grieve in secret, but that reunion is born from the public exposure of her deepest trauma. She is finally free from the gaslighting and control of Kody and Robyn, but she now must face the world as a woman whose life was a lie. Her journey of healing and of building a relationship with her son will be long and arduous, but for the first time, she can do it in the light, supported by the truth. For the rest of the Brown children, particularly Leon, this is the discovery of a lost brother and the unmasking of their father's true nature. One can only imagine the rage and disgust that Christine and Janelle's children must feel. This act of cruelty against Meri, a woman they considered a mother, would be an unforgivable sin, severing any lingering thread of respect or obligation they might have felt towards Kody and Robyn. It would likely galvanize the ex-wives and their children, uniting them in their support for Meri and their condemnation of the couple in Flagstaff. This isn't just a family feud anymore. It's a clear line drawn between good and evil, between truth and a lifetime of lies. Kody and Robyn are no longer just the villains of a reality show. They have been exposed as the architects of a secret so monstrous it eclipses every other drama the family has ever endured. Their kingdom has not just crumbled. It has been swallowed by a truth they thought they had buried forever. The Brown family story has been irrevocably broken. A secret son is a secret no longer, and the lies of Kody and Robyn have been laid bare for all to see. What happens next is anyone's guess. Will there be justice for Meri? How will the family heal from a wound this deep? And what does this mean for the future of sister wives? This is a story that is far from over. Let us know your unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe this finally exposes the truth about Kody and Robyn? As always, thank you for watching. Like this video if you found it informative, and subscribe for more updates on this developing story. A truth bomb has been detonated in a quiet courtroom, and the shockwave is just beginning to radiate outwards, tearing through the carefully constructed facade of the Brown family. The DNA results were not just a confirmation. They were a public execution. The execution of a lie, the execution of a reputation, and the execution of the carefully curated television narrative that Kody and Robyn Brown have hidden behind for over a decade. The revelation that Meri Brown has a secret son, and the subsequent bombshell allegation that Kody and Robyn orchestrated his secret adoption and then lied about it under oath, is an event from which there is no recovery. This is not another season's drama to be dissected in a tell-all special. This is a moral and legal cataclysm. The story is no longer about a broken plural family. It is about a criminal conspiracy, profound psychological abuse, and a level of manipulation so dark it defies comprehension. Today, we are moving beyond the courtroom doors to explore the immediate, devastating fallout of this apocalyptic revelation. We will witness the media firestorm that erupted on the courthouse steps. We will analyze the powerful and vindicated reactions of the ex-wives, Christine and Janelle, and we will delve into the unified uprising of the Brown children, a generation betrayed by the man they once called their patriarch. And finally, we will ask the multi-million-dollar question: what happens now? What becomes of a television empire when its king and queen are exposed as perjurers and villains of the highest order? The kingdom of Kody and Robyn is in ruins, but from those ashes, a mother, long silenced and shamed, is finally being reborn. The scene outside the courthouse was nothing short of a media-feeding frenzy, a spectacle of public downfall rarely seen outside of a Hollywood blockbuster. As Kody and Robyn were escorted out of a side entrance by their legal team, they were met with a wall of cameras and shouting reporters. The images captured in those moments will forever define their legacy. Kody, his face a grotesque mask of purpled rage, looked like a caged animal. He lunged towards a reporter who shouted a question about perjury, his bodyguards physically restraining him as he spewed incoherent threats and venomous denials. This was not the confident, swaggering patriarch of sister wives. This was a cornered man, stripped of his power, his lies exposed to the world, reacting with the only tool he has left: pure, unadulterated fury. Beside him, Robyn played her final desperate card as the porcelain doll victim, but the performance fell flat. Her sobs appeared hollow, her trembling manufactured. The public could now see the strings. She was no longer a sympathetic wife caught in a difficult situation. She was the co-conspirator, the Lady Macbeth of Flagstaff, her carefully crafted image shattered into a million pieces against the hard pavement of truth. They were bundled into a black SUV, a vehicle that looked less like a luxury car and more like a getaway vehicle, fleeing the scene of their own public execution. In stark contrast was the departure of Meri and her newly found son, Jacob. They exited from the main courthouse doors a few moments later, walking into the same media storm, but with a completely different energy. Meri, though her eyes were red-rimmed and her face etched with the pain of decades, held her head high for the first time in years. She didn't have to hide anymore. Jacob was at her side, one hand protectively on her arm, a quiet pillar of strength and vindication. They didn't answer the shouted questions. They didn't need to. Their silence was more powerful than any statement. As they walked slowly and deliberately through the throng of cameras, it was a profound visual metaphor, a mother and son, separated by lies, now reunited in truth, walking out of the darkness of the past and into the blinding light of an uncertain but honest future. That single image of Meri and Jacob together, dignified in their shared trauma, while Kody and Robyn fled in a rage-fueled disgrace, told the entire story. The power dynamic of the Brown family had been permanently and irrevocably inverted. The first wife, the one who had been discarded, shamed, and gaslit for years, had emerged from the wreckage, not unscathed, but undeniably triumphant. The tsunami of truth that began in the courtroom quickly crashed into the homes of the two women who had escaped the family cult just in time, Kody and Brown. For them, this news would have been a complex emotional bomb. On one hand, there would be a profound sense of horror and deep, gut-wrenching pity for Meri. They had lived with her for decades, witnessed her inexplicable loyalty to Kody, and watched her suffer through the painful narrative of infertility. To learn that this entire narrative was a lie, a cruel charade orchestrated by Kody and Robyn to facilitate their own relationship, would be sickening. It would recontextualize every tear Meri shed, every desperate plea for Kody's affection, every awkward family gathering where her childlessness was the unspoken elephant in the room. They would be forced to confront the chilling reality that the man they were once married to was capable of a level of cold, calculated cruelty that even they could not have imagined. It would be a horrifying validation of their decision to leave, proving that they didn't just escape an unhappy marriage. They escaped a dangerously toxic and abusive system led by a man devoid of a moral compass. On the other hand, alongside the horror, there would be a powerful surge of righteous fury and vindication. For years, Kody and were subtly, and not so subtly, painted as the problem wives. The jealous one, the difficult one, the one who wasn't loyal enough. Kody and Robyn consistently positioned themselves as the righteous, committed couple struggling to hold a dysfunctional family together. This revelation obliterates that narrative. It proves that the entire foundation of Kody and Robyn's relationship was built on a monstrous lie and the systematic emotional abuse of Meri. Kody and can now stand tall, not just as women who chose their own happiness, but as whistleblowers who were right all along about the toxic rot at the core of the family. We can expect a unified and powerful public statement from them, not one of gloating, but of fierce support for Meri and a total, unequivocal condemnation of Kody and Robyn. They are no longer just the ex-wives. They are the leaders of the resistance, the moral center of a family that has been torn apart, and their voices will now carry an undeniable weight of authority and truth. Their spin-off shows, once seen as simple lifestyle content, will now become must-watch television, platforms for them to help guide the public and their family through the rubble. The most catastrophic and heartbreaking fallout, however, will undoubtedly be felt by the children. All of them. For Leon, Meri's child, this is an earth-shattering event. It is the discovery of a full biological sibling they never knew existed, a brother who was stolen from their mother. It is also the confirmation that their entire life has been shaped by a grotesque lie,